In a world where the lines of fiction and reality are blurred, no one pushed the boundaries further than Jerome Young, a.k.a. New Jack.
When New Jack jumped off that balcony and just kind of swan dived, or whatever you would call that dive, onto the guys below, just from a visual, it was stunning.
Ray Candy was over down south, Memphis, Tennessee, Georgia. Ray trained me, and it didn't take long for him to train me and to put me in the ring. He told me to go for it. And one of the things he always told me was, he was like, New Jack, create something that you've never seen before.
When audiences thought they'd seen it all, New Jack took it to a whole new level.
You want to talk about violence? Violence to you might be putting somebody in a figure four. Violence to me is taking a can of gas and pouring it on you and setting you on the spot. Like me or not, I didn't come up here to be liked. I came up here to get paid. An original gangster, an original ass whooping, an original thug. I got a criminal record. I got a college degree. I've been on both sides of the fence. Whether you want to call it a work or shoot, if you get on me, I'm going to get on you back. If you want to work, we can work. If you want to shoot, I'll beat your ass.
This was a guy who was unique and who probably could only rise to prominence in a crazy world like professional wrestling. He's a lunatic. He has a reason for being a lunatic. You know, you go into his childhood and things that, happened to him that probably shaped some of his outlook on things. To me, wrestling has always been about, can you make me believe that you are the person you are purported to be? And he had that from the start.
I got a college education and a criminal record, so I know how to make decisions. I don't need nobody out here cheering for me, and most of all, partner, I don't need you.
He was two people. There was New Jack, who was in the ring, who was that crazy dude who would jump off balconies and hit you with stuff. But then there was Jerome Young, and there was that kid that you would see when you were driving on the road, who would give you the shirt off his back, who would give you his car, who would do anything for you, who would sit there and talk about his children.
I truly feel that the reason why Jack was so violent, so extreme, because the way he grew up, his childhood, his upbringing, I think that plays a part in who he is. I mean, it has to.
New Jack, for a lot of people, was that fearful wrestler because nobody could talk the talk and walk the walk that New Jack did.
Jack always was a personality that you could believe in him because he believed in him, and he believed in him so much that he became him.
Jerome Young was quite an individual, and deep in his heart, he was every bit of New Jack that he could offer.
Yeah, Monty and the Pharaoh, #1 wrestling podcast. Yeah, when it comes to podcasts, they are the cream of the crop. Yeah, dig it?
We know what you're thinking. Did they fire off 6 fascinating points of interest or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all the excitement of watching and listening to Long Island's #1 wrestling podcast, I've actually forgotten myself. But being this is the Monty and the Pharaoh podcast, live from Indie Music Studios in Ronkonkoma, and the fact that they were talking to yet another champion wrestling star, one of the most powerful and talented performers from the wrestling franchise, and not to forget, well-informed and provocative interview questions asked and answered. It was such an interesting and entertaining hour, the questions nearly blew your head clean off. Now you've got to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do ya, punk?
What's up, guys? It's Gina Marie here from Big Brother, and you're watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast with Monty and the Pharaoh.
Yo, this is ECW legend
All
New
right.
Jack, and you watching Monty and the Pharaoh.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monty and the Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV, straight out of Ronkonkoma, Long Island.
Straight out.
It's another Thursday, and at the board is the super producer, the producer of all producers, known to the fans of Monty and the Pharaoh as Matty Ice. Matty, how are you, buddy?
Doing amazing, as always.
How was your week?
So far, so good. You know, it's been a beautiful outside, so I started going biking again.
You
Biking?
do a little bike riding.
Look at
Yeah, I
you.
love
Nothing better than some bike riding, man.
Yeah,
That's for
listen-
sure.
You got a Schwinn or a BMX? What do we tear around the woods in?
We tear around in a Schwimmer.
And a Schwimmer.
Yeah.
A Schwimmer? What the hell's a Schwimmer? Is that a Schwinn offshoot? What is that?
If anyone doesn't know,
Diamond bike.
if anyone
diamond-
doesn't, are we going to stop this conversation
What?
so I could
You
friggin'
asked
move
him
on?
how his weekend was, and he's a bike rider.
Yeah,
What?
we're on limited time. I can't sit there and talk if it's a Schwinn or
It
something
says
else.
right here we're not. Go on.
And that's the start of the show, Mr. Jimmy Farrow. Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
I'm fine. Was that quick enough for you? Go on. Hurry up.
Listen,
Hurry up.
I'm not trying
Would
to.
you hurry up?
All I'm saying,
Oh, time
I
is
don't
being
want to
wasted.
go on about a Schwinn
It's
bicycle.
unbelievable. Oy.
All right, bro. Rough week this week.
Yeah.
Charles Grodin passed away.
Yeah, I'm drawing a bit of a blank for some reason, and I don't know why. Something tells me I saw him in a million things, but I do remember Midnight Run. I do remember that.
Classic.
Yep, I do remember that. I would have to look at his total list to see all the other things he did, but apparently he did a lot
Heaven
of
Can
stuff.
Wait.
Heaven Can Wait. Didn't they pan that movie when it came out? Now it's classic? I remember there were critics were killing that movie.
Great movie.
Hey, anyway.
At least in the world of Monty, anyway.
Siskel and Ebert. Go on.
Don Kernodle passed away, and news has it was self-inflicted.
What?
Yeah.
All right, I didn't know about this, so this is new to the Pharaoh. What are you talking about? What happened?
I don't know. Self-inflicted means self-inflicted, right?
71 years old, right? That much I think I
heard he was sick, so I don't know. Maybe he just decided to call it a day.
Any vivid memories on Kernodle? I remember when with Slaughter back in the...
Well, so you don't have Mid-Atlantic. I remember Mid-Atlantic. I remember him being a little smaller than everybody else.
Okay.
Not overly impressive.
From what I remember, we didn't really have...
Kind of didn't look like a military guy.
Yeah.
Didn't look like he belonged with Slaughter.
Interesting. Yeah, well,
I mean, this is my
You could
viewpoint.
say that. You're a military guy. I didn't remember too much of him because, once again, this was before we really had access to Mid-Atlantic television. Well, I was reading about him in the PWI and the Wrestler, Inside Wrestling, things like that. But, he obviously had a nice little run there at one point. And
Do you think he had an agent?
What, like Eric Sims?
No, come on.
I don't
Eric
know.
Sims.
You said agent.
No, like an agent, like a real agent.
Oh, I would think so. I don't know. Did they have them back? Or
Well,
weren't they
my whole
kind of like
point is
representing
that
themselves
guy
back
should be
then?
fired because they give him a name like Don Kernodle. You
Don-
ain't making it anyway. You think that was his real name?
Don Kernodle.
Could you imagine like Madison Square Garden getting filled to go see Don Kernodle?
You please, you're picking on this guy. What are
Sorry.
you doing? You're horrible.
Even in death, people
You go
don't
for a
survive.
bike ride. You got to loosen up. Jesus Christ.
All right,
Oy.
and then probably the main death of the week is New Jack, who we had in studio.
Can I take a second on this one?
Sure, absolutely. Make it quick.
ECW was ECW was my favorite company back in the day, and New Jack, of course, was a major face to ECW. Of all the guests we've had in here, and I'm gonna speak for you here because I know you won't say this yourself. My partner's a pretty tough guy, and I remember that when New Jack came in here, my partner was actually a little nervous, and I can't blame him because we didn't know who New Jack was. We knew of his rep, and we knew he was intense. And I'll never forget it. Before we went on the air, I wanted to tell him how much he meant to me as a wrestling fan, all marking out aside. And I wanted it to be genuine. And I happened to catch him before we got on the air, and I told him how much I appreciated him coming down, how much I appreciated his career. And he looked me right in the eye, and it was a genuine thank you. He was a really nice man to us. One of the things I remember is afterwards, he's like, let's be Facebook friends. So when he accepted my friend request that I sent him, I wasn't going to be like, oh, we're friends. Now I can mark out and torture you every day with stupid emails asking you about this, that, and the other thing. I let him be, man, because being a celebrity of any kind can't be too easy. So I was respecting his privacy. All of a sudden, I get a message on Facebook, yo, Pharaoh, are you out there? I wanted to make sure this is you that I friended. And I was like, yeah. And he was just like, loved being on the show, love you guys, blah, blah, blah. I was like, this guy's so nice. It came out of nowhere, but at the same time, when I think about all the abuse that man put through, put his body through for the love of what he did and for the entertainment of you and me, the viewers at home. I guess I can't be too surprised, man, with all the pills and all the partying and everything else. It's really sad. Love you, New Jack. You were one of my favorite people that came through these doors. Rest in peace, bro. And that's what I got for New Jack, man.
That was almost Heyman-ish.
Was it? Well,
that was close to a Heyman.
He did the
right
sign,
there.
too. Well, Heyman loved him, you know. You could tell.
That was a good eulogy.
You could tell Heyman loved him, and he should. New Jack was gold for that man, you know.
I don't know. The only thing I remember is when he was in studio. Cool guy, but I remember when he came in studio, he was staring at me like I was a piece of glass. I'm like, am I going to have to fight this fucking guy?
Don't.
I mean, seriously, he would not stop staring at me. I'm like, what the fuck are you looking at?
He was looking through you.
He was like freaking me out.
I think he was just sizing you up because he didn't know who you were.
Well, he was freaking me out.
I know he was freaking you out.
He was really freaking. I was texting Farrow. This fucking guy's freaking me out. He won't stop looking
Meanwhile, him and I were ready to hit up the Burger King drive-thru afterwards.
Maria Davis says Charles Grodin was from Pittsburgh, PA.
Pittsburgh, nice. Pittsburgh, PA's got a lot of big-time names coming out of there.
Anyway, I'd like to thank the band that sings this theme song for Monty and the Farrow, our own Jimmy Farrow, along with his partner Park Riggs, make up the band Wisteria Hall. Wisteria Hall sings such great songs as our theme song, Riding High, In My Dreams, This Life. That's a personal favorite of mine.
Thank you.
Not far behind, Here Comes the Rain. Right. You can find their music on Spotify, iTunes. No, I don't think iTunes is around anymore. Is it? Maybe. Who knows? How about Apple Music? Sorry.
Okay, that's better.
Reverb Nation. And also, please go to Wisteria Hall YouTube page. Hit that like and subscribe. It's only a few minutes, and show the band a little love.
Thank you.
If you didn't know it, you are watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and Farrow, only seen here on YouTube, Facebook Live. Hear us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor. See us on our Twitch TV, Monty and Farrow page.
Okay.
And if that's not enough, tune in to Channel 115 every Tuesday from 7 to 7:30 and catch the reduced version where these two great guests will be reduced for a half-an-hour broadcast.
Be professionally condensed.
Reduced.
They will not be reduced.
And for early risers on Saturday, 6 a.m. to 6:30, and catch them on Channel 20. That's a few hours from now, from 2 a.m. to 2:30. I have a problem with that show. I can't really stay up.
2 a.m.? That's when I get up. That's perfect. Go on.
We'll be right back with photographer, pro wrestler, pro wrestling radio host,
okay,
baseball executive,
okay,
music manager and marketing genius.
What else you got in there?
I'm not done.
You serve at the Vatican? What are we talking about here?
The author of Matt Memories.
Oh, this. One of my favorite books. Absolutely.
The original OG of Pro Wrestling Convention.
That's
this
fair.
is the guy.
That's fair.
That created all the fucking morons we have to deal with on a regular basis.
All those guys with the toy belts?
I'm going to make some. No, it ain't them. No.
Sorry, guys with the toy belts.
All
Who
these.
is it?
It's all the guys that want to be this guy.
Oh, well, that's a whole.
Right?
Oh,
and they try to act like this guy. Well, this guy will be back after this commercial break, along with UWF, WWE, and a surprise guest, Mr. Sonny Beach, right after this.
See you in a sec.
Tag America, representing the very best of American ingenuity, craftwork, and creative arts. Handcrafted wood flags, yard signs, 9-line apparel, artisan candles, and outdoor garden accessories. Custom commissioned murals, portraits, and signed by artist owners and residents. Grand opening May 23rd. Wrestling superstar and former world champion and Mr. USA Tony Atlas will be there from 12 to 4 for limited edition print signing. Free line dancing classes 1 to 4. Rain date for line dancing June 6th. Raffle prizes where 100% of proceeds will go to Tunnel to Towers Foundation and 10% of net proceeds of in-store sales as well. Military, police, firefighters, healthcare workers, we want your signatures on our wall of honor. Easy to find, fun to browse. 14 East Broadway, Port Jeff, opposite the ferry, in the Lighthouse Landing Shops, 2 doors from Echolin Jewelers. Come visit us at 14 East Broadway, Port Jeff, or call 631-741-2344. Because made in America matters.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monty and Farrow, produced out of Indie Music TV here in Long Island, New York. I want to thank our guests, Mr. John Arezzi, author, Mr. Sonny Beach, pro wrestling superstar. Thank you guys for coming in and joining Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast.
It's my pleasure.
Great to be here, man.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Great to be sitting next to this guy, too.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Go back a lot of years.
A lot of years,
brother.
I don't want to forget to recognize the birthday of both Macho Man Randy Savage and Andre the Giant.
That's right, 75 Andre would have been.
Yeah, John, do you have any stories of meeting Andre? Could you share with the fans out there?
Yeah, Andre, I knew Andre. Took a lot of pictures of him, but I met him really for the first time in '74. And he was in Los Angeles, and I was out there at the Olympic Auditorium for the Battle Royal and got to meet him out there. But one night, there was a little bar. Andre started working at the Garden. There was a bar where all the boys hung out. It was called the Savoy. It was across the street from the Edison Hotel on 46th Street. And after the show, everyone would go there. Andre, when he was on the card, he'd go in, and I hung out with George Napolitano all the time. George knew Andre really well, and one night the bar was really packed, so George is like, come on, let's go, we'll go across the street. So Andre, myself, George Napolitano, Mr. Fuji, and Professor Tanaka, we went across the street to another bar, and I just hung out with them, Andre drinking, and it was just amazing just to be there, and I was 17 years old, I think. Sitting there with Andre the freaking Giant. But my claim to fame with Andre is that of all the archives that I shot as a kid, I have the only known footage of Andre the Giant's debut at Madison Square Garden on March 23rd, 1973. I was at ringside and I shot his match against Buddy Wolf. And it's the only known footage of it.
Wow.
And I have three of Andre's first 4 matches at the Garden captured on 8mm film.
Triple H just called. They want you for that.
Well, I mean, I've been talking to them. I mean, they love it. They all of this, and we're in discussions to have that A&E thing. They're trying to license some of it, and but I think that footage alone. I mean, it's just like, and I believe that was the very first time he was called Andre the Giant because he was the Giant Gene Faree.
Yeah.
And then Vince McMahon Sr. gave him the name Andre the Giant, and he made his debut as Andre the Giant at the Garden that night.
What is your original exposure to pro wrestling? On television as a kid, or?
Yeah, it was in 1964. I was about 7, and my oldest sister, who passed away several years ago, I mean, she was 5 years older than me, and I remember her calling me into the living room because she was watching wrestling. And the little guys, you can't say midgets anymore, right?
Vertically challenged.
But the little guys were on TV. She goes, Johnny, come in here. These little men fighting each other, and one guy was biting the other guy on the ass, and it was kind of like, what is this? But that night, I remember like it was yesterday. There was a match. Dr. Jerry Graham was there, and it was a tag team match, and I believe Smasher Sloan was as a partner or whatever, and it was against Tonio Pugliese, who was Bruno Sammartino's cousin, and Bruno was supposed to be there too, but he wasn't there. So Pugliese getting his butt kicked, and all of a sudden there's a roar from the crowd, and this guy runs into the ring, and it's Bruno Sammartino carrying suitcases. And he hits Graham over the head with it. The announcer was Ray Morgan. It was from Washington, D.C., and he had juice. It was blood, and I remember that like it was yesterday. And Ray Morgan is like, well, Dr. Jerry Graham, it looks like you need a doctor yourself. Because I'm my own doctor. I don't need a doctor. But it was Bruno that captured me because I was Italian. He was Italian, and I was hooked from the age of 7.
1964, they were showing color on television?
Well, it was black and white, but it was
They were actually showing blood on TV. In
there was blood, yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
What breaks you into the wrestling world?
Basically, I just found a fascination with it. I loved it, and when I discovered the wrestling magazines back in 1967 at a newsstand, there was a cover. Bruno was on the cover, and I started reading, and I found out there were other territories. There was other places that wrestling was going on other than the Northeast. And I really zoned in on Freddie Blassie. because the first magazine I got was an article that said written by Bruno Sammartino, my 3 toughest opponents, and one of them was Freddie Blassie.
Okay.
And Freddie kicked Bruno low at Roosevelt Stadium and caused a riot. And I was just fascinated with the guy, so I started reading up about him, and I started a fan club for Fred in 1972 when I was about 14.
Blassie's one of the first people to me that was actually getting wrestlers out there besides wrestling itself. Was he not on the Dick Van Dyke Show, for God's sake?
He was on the Dick Van Dyke Show early on in the 60s, yeah. And he was a world champion. He held the WWA version, I believe, of the world championship. And the thing about Blassie is that he always came back from all these injuries. He lost a kidney. I mean, he had just all these crazy injuries, and he always came back. He had resilience, but he became like a hero to me back then. And I found it fascinating that he was a bad guy on the East Coast, and he was a good guy out in L.A.
Which is amazing. Almost Johnny Rodz though, right? Because, Rodz was a bad guy in both.
Rodz was
Ronnie, I think Java Ruick, right, in Los Angeles?
Rodz got a big push out west, unlike up here.
For the younger wrestling fans, John Arezzi has a book called Mat Memories. If you're a true wrestling fan, you have to get this book. John, like I said in the intro, is an original OG. This is the guy that, almost like he lit the spark on so many parts of the industries. Many good, many bad. We'll get into both. John, where can we get your book?
It's everywhere. I mean, no matter wherever you get a book, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, it's stocked at Barnes & Noble, Walmart's, anywhere you get a book. But if you want a signed copy of it, there's one place to get it, and that's through me directly. So all you got to do is go to mattmemories.com, click on a link that says buy the book, and then you could buy a signed and numbered copy directly from me.
So in reading your book, right, I you know who Corey Hart is? The singer. I always remember, the song Never Surrender. So when I was reading this book, because you've had such an elaborate career from so many different things, which we're going to cover, but we've only been in this thing a short time, right? We met Mr. Sonny Beach a couple of years ago, good friend of the show, big supporter. But I got to tell you, a lot of bullshit comes along with this industry. How do you deal with... You didn't just in the wrestling industry. You were a big-time mogul in the music industry also. How do you deal with the bullshit?
Well, I mean, the only way you can deal with anything, you just try to look it square in the face and you try to deal with it. And I don't like drama in my life, so if somebody's, the older I get, I don't like drama in my life. But years ago when I was in the business, I've been in the wrestling business 3 different times, and I leave it when I get disgusted with it. And I'm happy I'm in it now because I'm a historian now, so I don't have to deal with any bullshit. Yeah. I don't have to deal with it no more. But back then, it was very difficult because you don't know who's working you, and if you're trying to promote, it was just an insane business. You could hardly trust people. You keep your close friends very close to the heart, like this man right here.
Good man.
I've known him for 30-something years. He was always nothing but kind to me. We've done things together. I took him overseas for some shows I promoted there. And Cactus Jack McFoley, another dear friend, and Sean Waltman, dear friend of mine. People, those are the types of people you keep close to the vest, and the rest of them you could tell. Now I have an intuition if someone's working me or not, and I don't put up with anything. But back then, I didn't have the experience. I didn't have I didn't have the confidence in a lot of ways to be able to tell somebody to go screw themselves if they're trying to screw me first.
Well, because you were a fan at first, right? And then you found your way, and it gets hard to work through that type of thing.
You got wise to it eventually.
You want to believe the best in people, and you want to give everybody a chance, but if it looks like shit, smells like shit, it's usually shit.
Right. Right.
So.
And I got to thank a guy like George Napolitano, who mentored me.
Great
as a young photographer. I had a press pass at 16, and him and Bill Apter. Those were the guys that took me in under their wing.
Very fortunate to have those guys.
They couldn't believe I was even at ringside. They're like, "Who are you?" George, who are you?
How'd you get here, kid?
But that's another story. That's in the book on how I got that press pass, and that was kind of you talk about an elevator speech I gave Willie Gilzenberg, who I thought ran the WWF. I gave him this elevator speech. I mean, WW, they had an office in the Holland Hotel on 42nd Street where the wrestlers would pick their tickets up, the photographers would get their press passes, and I was like, I got to get a press pass. And Willie Gilsenberg shuffles in. He's a little old man, and the office was on the second floor. So I get into the elevator with him, and I push floor 18. And as we're going up, I gave him this whole quick elevator speech, and by the time we got back down to the second floor, he said, come with me. Brought me into the office. Monsoon and Arnie Skolin were there. Give this kid a press pass, and that was it.
Wow.
It's pretty smart picking floor 18. Gave you a little time.
It was on purpose, yeah.
There you go. There you go. Speaking of BS in the business, how did you ever forgive Vince Russo?
You know, you get older, and you don't, well, you know, I can honestly say that my short partnership with Vince, and I brought him into the business. I was introduced to him by, ironically, Jim Cornette's fan club president at the time, Andrew Goldberger from Port Jefferson here.
Cornette disowned him afterwards?
Well, Cornette just found out about it not too long ago. I brought it up on his podcast. I almost gave Jim a stroke when he found out that kid introduced Russo to me, and I got him into business.
He must have loved that.
It was pretty funny, but how do you forgive somebody after all these years? I mean, Russo was probably the one person I actually can say I hated. I hated him because of the way we formed a partnership. He went through me like shit through a goose, and he achieved what he wanted to achieve in the business, and he was very ambitious. And he wrote a book. He said some nasty things about me. I think they were inaccurate. I let it go because I was out of wrestling.
Well,
and then he did a podcast.
You had a show that he basically leached into.
Well, he came into the radio show. I mean, he came in as a advertiser at first. He had a video store called Will the Throw Video on Middle Country Road in Coram.
Okay.
And you know, I was introduced to him. I brought him on as an advertiser, and then I booked a personal appearance for him with Honky Tonk Man.
So Blockbuster was housing his ass, and you did him a favor?
Yeah, Blockbuster was in, but basically he wanted to get into wrestling. He said he had a journalism degree, and he wanted to do a newsletter with me because he knew I had a big fan base. Okay. And he wanted to take the show, which was on WGBB on Long Island, he wanted to take it to a bigger station, to reach a bigger audience, and at that time, you broker your time. You buy the time from the station. So WGBB would charge $400 a week for 2 hours, and then he cuts the deal to go to WEVD 1050 AM, 50,000 watt powerhouse. Oh. But that was about $1,100 a week.
Holy cow!
And he said he'd put the money up, but he really didn't have it.
So how'd you pay for it?
Well, he paid the freight in the beginning, and we were trying to get sponsors, and then he saw wrestling as more entertainment. And I was knee-deep covering the scandals at the time. That's the steroid scandals, the trials. And that
we're
was
going to get to that next.
It was June it was right in the middle of the sex scandals, and we just didn't gel. We split up very publicly. And, what really brought me back into wrestling, here's the ironic part of all of this, is that when he did a podcast called Truth with Consequences in November of 2018, he had said some things about me on that podcast.
Can you share what he said, though?
He was just saying I was a guy that lived with my mother. My
mother. He was getting sticky with the whole thing.
He was like saying how he got his start, and I was this guy and con guy, or whatever he was saying. And I heard it, and I was like, that's enough, because he challenged anybody who ever had a problem with him to confront him. And after I heard that podcast, my nephew sent me the link, and he says, Uncle, Vince Russo's saying things about you, and I reached out to his producer, and I says, I want to talk to Vince. And we did a thing on YouTube. And I said, I'll do this as long as it's not a sabotage, as long as we treat each other like gentlemen and we speak about our differences. That happened 20-something years ago, and we did. And he cried. I mean, I made him cry.
He literally cried?
Yeah.
He's an emotional guy, that Vinny.
Well, I mean, because I said, you're the only person I really ever hated and despised, and I don't use that word lightly.
Good.
But I forgave him. And there were things about him that I maybe not acknowledged. I didn't know he was going through a lot of financial issues at the time, and he didn't know what was going on with me, but he wanted to go in a direction of entertainment, and I wanted to cover it as a journalist.
Wait a minute, though. I don't know if not having any money gives you the right to take advantage of someone and use them to the best of their ability. You know, I'm going to say it again. If I knew you back then, that shit would have never happened. It would have never happened.
Well, you guys
Vince Russo would still be picking up the fucking garbage on the street right now.
You get smartened up after a period of time, and that's one of the reasons I left wrestling, too, because I just couldn't. There was a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know what? At the end of the day, and I could look at and today it's I know a lot. He's very polarizing. You hate him, you love him, or whatever. But I don't have any hate in my heart for Vince Russo anymore. I don't. I don't know if he's changed personally. All I know is that we talked this thing out. I went to Colorado for the holidays to visit my family. I got together with him, with my nephew, and we have an amicable relationship today. Because I don't want to be enemies with anybody.
That's fair.
But that's it. I mean, it's not like I will not, I won't do business with him. You know, he said he could help me or whatever. And I just let him live his life. I have an amicable relationship with him. I don't hate him. I don't hate anybody in my life.
Were things cleared up after you had that podcast with him, where he cried? Was it good after that?
Yeah, it was good. It's been good since then.
Wait a minute, hold on. You don't hate that guy, Dr. Mike, the vice president of
No, I don't hate
Washington?
Dr. Mike. Mike is a peculiar guy. He's always been a peculiar guy. I've had my history with Mike Lano, and I brought him into wrestling in '73.
Another
he was
fraud.
a pen pal.
Hold on, another fraud.
This list is starting to get...
Hey, listen, I'm responsible for a lot of
made
things.
a lot of frauds out there, pal. A lot of frauds.
Well, the main thing, the
master of
wrestling
wrestling.
conventions and the talk shows. I mean, that's where John really made his mark, especially on Long Island.
But I brought in some interesting characters.
You brought in some great characters.
By the way, Jay Butler out there says, rip Paul Mooney. He's exactly right. I didn't forget Paul Mooney. He passed away. Great comedian. Oh, my God.
Wow.
And another guy with a great career.
Absolutely.
So, John, my first experience with you was, Pro Wrestling Spotlight.
Okay.
And then, then you appeared on Dark Side of the Ring, that UWF version of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, shit, that's John Arezzi. But the one thing I remember was you on the Donahue show.
Mm-hmm.
We had Lee Colin, the brother of Tom Cole, on the show.
Recently?
Earlier this year.
Okay.
A few months
Really
back.
nice guy.
Yeah.
But I have to ask you, what did you really know about the Ring Boy scandal?
What did I really know about it?
Yeah.
I knew Mel Phillips.
Okay.
I knew Mel Phillips since I was a kid, 16, 17, and developed a friendship with Mel at the time. And he was odd,
Try anything on you?
No. If he did, he wouldn't be here today. Well, he's not here today anyway. He passed away. But
right.
But I mean, what happened with Mel? Mel was in the business. He was he worked for the State Athletic Commission of Pennsylvania. He was backstage. Bless you, sir.
Thank you.
And basically he was a kind of a. As I got to know him more, I sensed something about him.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like what I sensed about him because he was always fascinated with young guys at the time. So, and Mel spent some time at my house on Long Island. I was a teenager or whatever, and he spent some time with me, and I'd go to Philadelphia, and he was in the backstage area, and he. One night, I guess we drove with Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody to TV tapings, and then he had there was a hotel, and there was called the George Washington Inn, and he wanted to share a room, and I wouldn't do it, but he never tried anything on me. But the thing is like there were allegations about him, and people knew that there was something going on with him and younger guys, and it was not taken care of well before the 90s
But
scandal.
I want to make something clear. Out of Tom's own mouth,
yeah,
right? Well, actually not Tom. Out of Lee's mouth,
Yeah.
I apologize. Tom was of age. Mel approached him for a sexual advance. Tom turned it down. went and slept in a van, and he was terminated a day later, a week later. I at the time.
What do you mean? Tom was terminated?
Yes. He was terminated from whatever position he was doing at the ring, right?
This
He was
was
working in the warehouse, right? He was working in their warehouse, right?
Yeah.
So, here's my problem with the Ring Boy scandal thing. Yes, Mel could have been off, weird, different, but he didn't he didn't take it, from the stories I'm told, he didn't do anything, he didn't rape anybody. I mean, since when is it illegal to ask someone, hey, John, I like you. Would you like to have a drink? Let's go on a date. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right?
And
Tom was of age.
Let me
right?
tell you something. When he used to hang out with me on the island, and I'm not even going to. There were some kids who were in the neighborhood that he was fascinated with.
Like young kids?
Yes.
Okay, understood.
Like under 10, 10, 13, or whatever they were.
Right.
And every time he'd even see me, and he'd mention their last name, how are those boys doing? And he would come, he visited me at college a couple of times. And one of my best friends, all of a sudden, Mel would be wrestling him and putting him in a toe lock and shit like that. I mean, it was just kind of weird.
So that's okay. So that's a different situation.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know that part.
I think, and I knew, and the reason I started backing away from Mel back in those days too is every time I seen him, he was with a bunch of young kids. Always with these kids from broken homes, and So if anyone, I'll go to. I am positive in my deepest of souls that there was something amiss with him.
To drill home a point that Mike always brings up that I do think is fair when it comes to Mel Phillips, where the heck was Bruno? Where the heck was Macho? Where the heck was Hogan? When all this stuff is going on, why didn't they say something?
That's a great point. So
why did someone say something?
But they did.
I watch you.
But they did.
I watch you on.
Did?
I watch you on Donahue.
Yeah.
I watch you with Meltzer, I think's on there, right?
Yeah, Dave is on there too.
You guys go real. First of all, I want to make something clear. Farrell and I are very, very big fans of Vince McMahon Sr.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
We are.
You guys came hard at him. Not you so much.
Junior or senior? You're saying
Junior. Actually,
my whole point, and I said it to Lee.
Senior
the exact same thing. Back to his point. Bruno said something while he was leaving.
Right.
Superstar Graham said something while they were leaving.
Right, after the fact.
You know what you just said? You said you saw Mel Phillips looking at young children and you were done with him.
Right.
Superstar Billy Graham and Bruno Sammartino knew something was going on, and Bruno had a lot of clout. Why didn't he do something? Why is Vince McMahon the culprit in this whole thing?
I'm not saying he's the culprit. I'm not saying he's the culprit. Whatever happened, but the thing is, if you turn a blind eye to something, if you're running a corporation and there are things that are suspicious underneath, you are responsible to make it right.
Exactly, just like a security guard company, you got to hold people accountable for their actions.
Didn't a guy like
put somebody out there?
This is why I'm smart, though, because I knew you were going to say that, Sonny. So here's the deal: you've got guards that work for you.
Exactly.
If they see something wrong, they're coming to you as the boss, right?
100%. They're going to let me know right away what's going on.
Sammartino was on Donahue. Sammartino was on Larry King, and he didn't do anything until he left.
To go further, Gorilla Monsoon, who always had a lot invested in the company and was Vince's right-hand man, he's cracking jokes about Mel live during matches. He knew. How could Gorilla not do something?
Well, it was more. Was it Mel or was it the other guys?
It was definitely aimed towards that whole group.
That's the thing. That's what makes it really. That's what makes it really. How can I phrase it?
It was covered up.
It was they were enabled, whatever.
Right.
I mean, there was nothing.
Right.
There was no.
Right.
I was there in '88 when all that stuff was going on.
Okay.
And I saw all the Ring Boys and Mel Phillips. And,
did he tell you looked mighty cute in them jeans? I mean,
no, he wouldn't say that to me.
There we go.
Crack him up.
So you saw it going on?
I saw some of the stuff going on.
So I'll ask you, sir.
100%.
Why didn't you do something?
I didn't know. I was a new guy on the block there. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know the pecking order. I didn't know the ring boys, the ring crew, the people selling the merchandise. They were all, together, riding around from town to town, setting up the rings. I didn't know that stuff.
Right.
Gorilla Monsoon's son, Joey,
Joey, yeah.
he was with the ring crew too a lot of times, and riding around with the guys too. But I know he wasn't like that at all. But some of the stuff, people say, watch out for this guy, and they wouldn't say nothing, but then they would tell you, just you make your own assumption, and you could tell when somebody's
I gotta laugh. John's like, "Oh, I'm coming in for another friendly
Hey,
interview."
I don't care what you ask me. I'm just going to tell you what I think and how I feel.
That's good. I
If
love
you
it.
read the book, it doesn't matter what way you slug this guy. He's going to get back up. Read this book.
Fire away, man.
Read
Fire
this-
away.
No,
I don't
I
care.
listen. Can I fire away?
Fire away.
My man, superstar Billy Graham. Listen, and I know you'll appreciate this. We grew up watching him. He was one of the first early guys that we were very enamored with. He was amazing during his time. What the hell has he turned into? He's completely insane now. The things he said, he's a flat-out liar half the time.
He's very bitter.
I mean, what
Very
about his
bitter.
deal with exposing steroids? Then he said years later he lied about that. Then years later he's taking Vince's Hall of Fame induction. Then the next day he's selling the ring and calling Vince a piece of shit again. What's up with Superstar Graham, according to you, John?
Well, I wish I could be in his head. I knew Billy Graham in the 70s. I was in the car with Billy and George Napolitano when we took him to get his New York State Athletic Commission license the night he made his debut at Madison Square Garden. I've had dinner with Billy Graham. Okay. I covered the trial that Billy Graham was a part of. Billy Graham was on my Pro Wrestling Spotlight radio show. It was in March of 1990, and that's when he spent an hour talking about what steroids did to him, and that's what kind of set me off. Once I found out what was going on, and he was saying that 90% plus of the guys were on it, and this is what happened to somebody who's been on it for years. So, but what happened to Billy? He played back and forth, right? He hated McMahon. He loves McMahon. He hated McMahon. This and that. I mean, only Billy can answer that. I mean, Billy probably didn't save his money. Billy always was looking for an angle later on in his life.
Knowing him all those years
he
ago,
was a trendsetter. He was the father of the steroid era in pro wrestling.
By the way, I want to tell the fans that interview you had with Billy Graham actually started the ball rolling, which almost destroyed the life of Vince McMahon Jr. Correct?
I don't know for a fact of any of that. All I know is that when Billy did that show, and there was so much that came out about it. The newsletters all transcribed it, wrote about it. There might have been a federal investigation with Sarah Harrion at that time. Who knows what was going on? But the coverage that I did during that time period was making light and bringing to light things that were going on. I didn't like, personally, and this is just as a fan back then, I liked the era of Bruno, and I liked the era of the Gorilla Monsoons and the Blassies and the Pedro Moraleses and all of those guys. I left wrestling, I come back, and everyone is like, it's like cartoon characters. And then when Billy came on my show and spoke about that, there was an issue there. I mean, and it was just like, why? And it's like with steroids, it's proven to be bad for you. I mean, it can mess you up. But I'm not a lawmaker or anything, but I just saw what was happening to the business, and guys that were getting the monster pushes like Ultimate Warrior and Warlord, and all these guys were it was based on muscularity in a lot of it.
So way to go, John. So now I realize that you brought these wackadoos into this, and now by you making a statement, now we have wrestlers like Orange Cassidy.
No, we
Look at
don't.
that! Congratulations.
Now
No one does steroids,
Now Marco
and now
Stunt.
we got Art and Marco Stunt. Way to go, John.
Yeah,
Way to
full circle,
go, pal.
Full circle.
You are the creator of all of the creator of all wrestling.
Yeah, I've destroyed the whole business.
This is terrible.
Me personally.
You know what I don't get, though? You can't tell me that Vince Sr. was making Superstar Graham take roids. There's no way. I'm not believing
Vince Senior?
Yeah, Senior. When he was champion,
No,
he
I
worked
don't
for
think.
Vince
I don't.
Senior.
I don't.
I don't
yeah, I
see
don't
that
think
at
that.
all.
I don't think that anyone was
You have a
saying you better
choice
take
if you wanna
steroids.
take 'em or not.
Right,
They didn't
right.
tell
But
you.
when
They
you
didn't put the
point
gun
the
to your
finger,
head.
not
No one
you,
put-
but
no
when they
one puts a
point
gun
the
to your
finger at
head.
Vince McMahon, like you're the guy that's your fault now. You pay.
But you go back to You go back to what we were talking about. I mean, if you're running a multi-million-dollar company, you're supposed to be the person who is in charge.
You're in
You're
charge.
the captain.
You're responsible.
and you set the policy.
But you have your tier of people that help you along the way. And if these people don't do their job, it's going to cause you an issue.
Vince McMahon really, he knows everything that's going on.
That I believe.
Today, 20 years ago,
That I believe.
30 years ago, when he took the business over from his father in 84, he's a genius. He's a marketing genius. He changed pro wrestling forever. He's a billionaire, and he's only to get richer when the WWE is eventually sold to whenever it gets
Do
sold.
you see that happening? Do you see him
I
selling?
do.
100%.
Absolutely.
Boy, that's depressing. What do you think the wrestling world will be like when the McMahons are no longer involved?
You'll be going to Orlando, right, to go to a theme park and a museum and a Hall of Fame.
No.
So that's why pro wrestling is dying a very slow
It ain't coming
and
back.
cruel
Yeah,
death.
this is what it is.
They're going to put Mickey Mouse into the Hall of Fame?
All right, we'll be right back after this commercial break with
What the-
UWF superstar Sonny Beach and the man of
many hats.
Many hats.
I'm a schizophrenic.
John
Let's
Arezzi.
say it straight.
We'll be right back.
Do you treat your dog as part of the family? Well, so do we. So why not celebrate your pup's birthday with the ultimate party box? Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Party Pup Info, and let us make your pup's party or any celebration perfection.
M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J Video Games and Collectibles.
The Monty and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine. Yeah. All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV with our special guest, Mr. Sonny Beach, and author of Matt Memories, John Arezzi.
Well, John has done many, many very important things in this business. We wouldn't have the conventions we have today without his presence and his originality and his original thinking. We wouldn't probably have all these YouTube podcasts and all these other things today if it wasn't for some of the ideas he placed into motion many years ago. So he's done plenty of great things, but you've also had some very interesting relationships over the years. How about telling us a little bit about the Grand Wizard?
Ernie Roth.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Oh, yeah. Where'd that all start with Ernie? I mean, he's a legend.
Basically, I was a photographer and got to know Ernie, and he was one of the guys, handful that you basically that really wants to mentor and help, And he was also a promoter in the New England area, so I got to know Ernie through like I always do with George Napolitano, hanging out with George, and he would introduce me around. And Ernie was a great guy, He was the guy that I called when I said I wanted to enter the ring. And he's the one that set me up to do those TV tapings. He thought I was crazy, but he set me up. So he was just an amazing guy. Brilliant, creative, what a mouthpiece on the promos.
He was a very tiny man in real life, right?
He was a tiny guy,
so
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did it affect you when he passed away?
I had been removed from the wrestling business, and I found out about it. It saddened me, of course, but he was, he was something else. He was a good guy, good man.
Who was your best friend in the wrestling business? It sounds like it's George, but I mean,
well, as far as outside of the boys, George Napolitano and I rode up and down the highway for a long time. He mentored me, like I said. He was a dear friend. Don Liable. I mean, Donnie Liable was, to this day, he's one of my dearest friends. I mean, he was there with me at Pro Wrestling Spotlight. He did the news capsule every week for years. He helped me with my conventions. He went overseas to Venezuela with me, and you were on that trip as well. That was another funny. That's a funny trip there too. But Donnie was, and to this day, he's still helping me and working with me and writing stories for my new website and all of that.
You're probably one of the most gutsiest men I've ever met.
Oh, really?
Legitimately.
He takes a lot of chances.
Yeah,
I love it.
Roll the dice.
It's great.
Yeah.
What kind of pressure? So the fans understand, right? You did a lot of promoting.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about the Venezuela stuff, but putting that kind of money up and believing in whatever your product. I mean, did you not sleep for 20 years?
I can see
There's a lot of pressure when you promote, believe me.
Yeah, well, you've been there.
Yeah.
You've been there as a promoter.
It's tough.
I just always found in my life, since I was a young kid, that I wanted to do different things. And the thing about me, I just, from whatever it is inside of me, I mean, I was never afraid to take a chance on anything. I was never afraid to blow the house up and start again if something didn't work. I got my ass kicked several times financially and some of the things that I did. But life is a journey. It's a roller coaster. And what I learned from wrestling, it smartened me up in many different ways, and it made me excel when I left wrestling and got into radio advertising and country music marketing, because I knew how to handle people, and I could sense when someone was
bullshit.
Yeah, in a way. But the thing is, and the other thing about wrestling, and the reason I excelled as much as I did in Nashville, I really feel that the wrestling business, towards the latter part of that run in the 90s, I didn't like who I'd become. And when I left it, when I got out of it, and that was it, I basically... I was given an opportunity to work at a radio station here on the island, and I said, really, from this day forward, I am going to change the way I do business as an individual and as a person and as a man. I will always underpromise and overdeliver to people. I will never take advantage of anyone. And I changed that about myself, and my life got better every year since then. Because if you do the right thing by people, karma is very important in life.
Yeah.
And there are some people that can travel through the life's journey and take advantage of people every step of the way. And some of them can sleep at night, some of them can't. All I know is every night when I go to bed, I can go to sleep because I know I'm doing the right thing with people that I do business with. It just made me a tougher individual and perceptive. And I don't do anything I don't enjoy. So if something I'm doing is not giving me pleasure and joy to do anymore, I'm getting out. I'm going to find something else that I like. And the reason getting back into wrestling has been so good right now, and I'm enjoying it because I'm a freaking historian now.
Right.
And so I could capture that, try to bring that history out to people. And that's just kind of it. But if I get sick of wrestling in a year from now or 2 years from now, then I'm freaking gone again.
Let's go Mets.
I know the answer, but let's just play a little game out. We're going to go into DeLorean. If you could go back in time,
DeLorean.
and go back when you were with Russo, and if you maybe would have been a little different, maybe you could have been the Vince Russo that ended up working for the WWE. Did you ever think about that? And did you ever go, I wish maybe I would have done that?
I always, back then, I would have loved to have been a part of WWF, if there was a role for me as an announcer or something like that, as well as WCW. But I was almost fucking 400 pounds at the time, too. Who's going to hire me? I mean, that wasn't in the cards back then.
Were you shocked at the level of success Vince Russo had? I mean, to me, it would feel like a little bit of a nightmare.
I was quite surprised. I was quite surprised
Did
in the
it
beginning.
anger you when it happened? I mean,
what am I going to do? I see when Vince Russo really came into prominence, I started doing really good.
Okay.
Financially.
That makes it easier.
I was the salesman of the year for this job that I took here at it's still on the air, 94.3. It was a country station then. And then I got hired away by New York City country station, became director of music marketing, traveled to Nashville, started doing deals with guys like Scott Borchetta, who, was working for a label that worked with Toby Keith. I get hired away to go to Nashville. And so I was doing great. And I became a fan again of wrestling based on what I saw with the Monday Night Wars and the Attitude Era. And I saw friends of mine that I had overseas with me, like Rey Mysterio getting over, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack exploding huge. These were friends of mine. So it was great. And Russo, the more I found out about what he did, I mean, it was like, well, shoot. I mean, he was instrumental in doing some great things, and he was instrumental in doing some really fucked up things creatively.
Yep. Talk about your relationship with Herb Abrams. So now you go from one end to
one
the
extreme
other.
to another, huh?
How do you guys isn't your bullshit radar up right then and there, or what's going on?
I'll start, and then I'll let him take over because I did the very first wrestling convention that I promoted was in 1990, and Herb, through Georgianne Macropolis, a mutual dear friend
of both of ours.
She had a Wrestling
Chatterbox newsletter, very big out here.
She introduced me to Herb and said Herb was starting this promotion, and Bruno endorsed him, which to me was that was it. That's all I needed to hear.
Approval.
And he came to my convention and did a launch of the UWF at my convention, and it turned into
very famous moment. This was your convention.
Yeah, it was. And he did Dance by Me and B. Brian Blair, and the big battle and all of that, and that's where he met guys like Mick Foley and he the Power Twins and Rick. And you could take it from here because Georgianne wanted you to meet him anyway, but you guys hooked up at the convention, and then you started.
Yeah, he was calling me from California, and we talked for hours at a time. I want to do this with you, I want to do that with you. You, Mick Foley. There's two Jewish boys, the Power Twins, out here on Long Island. I want to get. They're twins. He goes, help me get some guys, some talent. Help me book some shows in New York. So we went to the Pennsylvania hotel, and we started doing. I got him in with the Pennsylvania hotel, and we started doing some TV tapings out of the Pennsylvania for Sports Channel America. He came to New York, signed a big deal with Sports Channel America, and he got all the major talent. Everybody wanted to work for him. I mean, he was throwing money around like it was candy, and I didn't know where the money came from at first, and I didn't know that, he got a couple of sponsors, and Sports Channel gave him over $1 million to film, 13 weeks of shows and stuff. Brilliant. So he started getting a bunch of guys. Bruno, was the commissioner at the time. He got Craig DeGeorge to do the play-by-play with Bruno on TV.
Little Captain Lou.
It was Captain Lou. He had Andre the Giant with us. I mean, he had some big name. Paul Orndorff, Don Morocco, Bob Orton Jr. I mean, he had John Tullis, and I mean, it was like Ivan Koloff. The list goes on and on. The talent that he had, and if he would have, really budgeted his money and he did it the right way, he could have really made a big, huge impact on the wrestling business.
You worked in the office with him, correct? I mean, you were literally in the office with him like every day.
What
was that like?
Did
he really show up naked half the time, covered in white stuff?
He wasn't naked and with white stuff all over him. Once in a while, he'd go out and he'd go on binges.
Once in a while?
Well, he did. He didn't do it around the office all the time. That one night when he died, he did it there.
Oh,
and maybe when we weren't in the office after work, maybe he did it. But he wouldn't do that around me because I didn't partake in any drugs or anything like that. So I'm a family man, and I wasn't really involved in that. And he knew that. Yeah. So he respected me enough not to do that.
That's probably why he had you in the office.
Probably. We would get work done when I was in the office.
Delegating,
We were trying to book some overseas tours, at the time of his death, and he was trying to get up, find more money and try to syndicate shows overseas. So, I mean, John will tell you. I mean, we did shows for him at Plain Edge High School. Me, Mick Foley, Bob Orton Jr., Paul Orndorff. I mean, it was like a WWF, card there.
Yeah.
Lanny Poffo was there, Boris Zukov, the Conquistadors, the Power Twins, Tony Atlas. I mean, we had Barry Horowitz. I mean, it was a great show from top to bottom. Iron Mike Sharp. So, I mean, it was great times back then, and back then we had creativity where we could do our own promos, we could do our own matches, we could have our own angles, and anything went with Herb. I mean, you were free to do anything. Like Mick Foley, we talked about it a few times recently. Is that's where we really soiled our oats, with each other in the ring, and got to do our battles and got to get the extreme and the hardcore, and
creative control, and that's what Mick brings up all the time, like you're saying. The creative control that Herb gave. Mick, with the Cactus Jack character, he really came into his own in a lot of ways, promo-wise, and also what he was doing inside the ring with.
Because Herb would let us work, and we could do our own thing, and we didn't have to answer to a lot of people. The booking committee or the creative control or the writers and all that stuff. I mean, back then we could do our own thing, and as long as we had good matches, that's all they really cared about.
Incredible. But he was a bit of a nut too, though.
He was very eccentric. I mean, he was hilarious. He was a jokester. He was a good guy to hang out with, with joking or going out to dinner. He would tell a ton of jokes. He'd make you laugh. He always wanted to make people laugh. He was a happy-go-lucky kind of guy.
Was he more impulsive than brilliant? Because I don't know if brilliant is really the word.
I think he was a little of
to
each. He was eccentric.
Eccentric, impulsive?
Yeah. He was definitely
He didn't
eccentric.
like lipstick. He didn't like perfume.
No.
If women would come too close to him with lipstick, he would freak out. He would have to have his own little individual packets of ketchup.
What's with these crazy promoters? You can't sneeze in front of Vince to smoke a cigarette.
Oh, it's crazy.
These guys are weird. They have weird rules.
Yes, they make it up as they go usually. But Vince McMahon, I could say one thing: he is probably the hardest working man in business.
That I've heard.
He doesn't sleep. He's got total control of every aspect of the program and all the talent and all their gimmicks and everything else, the angles. He's involved in everything, and I respect him for that. And he's put his time in, a lot of hours, a lot of time away from home, family.
Right.
This guy doesn't rest. He doesn't go on vacations. He doesn't do anything. He just works hard, and his work ethic paid off for him and his family all throughout the years.
Sure. With that, we'll be right back after this commercial break with Sonny Beach and John Arezzi. Jimmy, I gotta take a dump.
What?
No, I mean I need a dumpster.
Well, for all those needs, you need to call Big V Dumpster Rental, Long Island, New York, 631-900-DUMP. Elm Logistics, for all your logistic needs, call 631-299-3595. That's 631-299-3595. Elm Global Logistics, pride, performance, and partnerships. And Nitro's Garage for all your automotive needs. Call 646-675-2349. That's 646-675-2349. For all your automotive needs, Nitro's Garage. Ask for Jack.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monty DeFaro, only seen here out of Indie Music TV, here out of Long Island. On the couch is UWF and WWE superstar Sonny Beach, and for this present case, author of Matt Memories, John Arezzi.
John, we were fortunate enough to be able to dine with you in a very nice restaurant. Thank you, Sonny. Down in our lovely Northport. And we did get to meet your nephew, who you've mentioned in your book in great detail. Can you tell us?
I dedicated the book to him.
Yeah. Can you tell us about your nephew, Dominic?
Dominic is the light of my life. I mean, since the age... I never had children, unfortunately. I mean,
you might have some in the Philippines, though.
I may have... You already run the
might have some in the Philippines. I don't know.
Possibly. Yes, Little Big Pork Barbecue. Little Big Pork Barbecue.
Little Big Pork Barbecue. There you go.
Pork barbecue.
But my nephew Dominic is just... he calls me Uncle Genie because I granted wishes,
Oh, okay.
And I spoiled him, but he's a brilliant kid. He is going for his master's degree now. He works very hard. He's a responsible, respectful young man. And we've had a lot of adventures together, from our travels... seeing the New York Mets. We go to spring training every year in Port St. Lucie. That's our sabbatical. And he is a fine young man, and he's going to do great things in his life. And I'm very, very proud of him. Very proud of him.
And you could see the special relationship you have with him, and what an outstanding young man.
It's a bond.
For sure.
I mean, it really is.
Family's everything.
Yes, family's everything.
So for the fans out there, John's been around. He's got so many great things. What a library of stuff, like videos he was showing us. What is your most cherished treasure?
Of the archives, I really have to say it's that Andre the Giant match.
Huge.
I mean, that's kind of the jewel of my archives, I think. But it's hard to choose. I mean, I have 10,000 pictures. I have videos. I have films from back in the day. I mean, there's not, the Andre thing is just because it's so rare, and no one has any footage of that match except for me. I mean,
WWE salivating for that, because I can't see how they would not salivate.
I think it has a value to it, and like I said, I had a few discussions with them over the past few years.
They're playing hardball.
I think
they're going to come for that thing.
They will. I believe that.
My treasure. I want to have the pleasure to show the fans out there your wrestling match with the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
This is Mike's favorite all-time match. He called me earlier today.
I love this match.
His favorite all-time match.
He's replaced Morocco.
The Pharaoh's going to run some play-by-play.
I am. I can't
and
see.
I'm step out.
Dusty Rhodes was one of my favorite wrestlers.
Are you going to be able to run it?
To see him and John.
All right, so it's be a second
play-by-play.
So keep talking to them, and it's going to come on, and then you guys can talk about the match. All right?
Well, guys, why is water wet? Keep talking to them. Where are you going? Oh, it's going right off the rails. Ay, vez mea. Sonny, how about you with the BS level in the business? John is. By the way, I agree with you, John. There's things about this business that will absolutely break your heart, burn you out, make you question your own sanity. I've gone through a little bit of it myself. How about you, Sonny? Did you have to go through anything
when I came into the business, I was a big fan. I was a big mark. I loved Dusty Rhodes. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, so the Florida territory was huge for me growing up. I grew right out of cartoons, right in Saturday morning, right into wrestling. And with Dusty Rhodes and the Briscoe brothers, Mike Graham, Steve Kern, it was like awesome time to be around. I saw Andre the Giant when I was probably 1977, 78, Jacksonville Coliseum. I was in awe by his size. Harley Race used to come in and defend the belt against Dusty or Briscoes or whoever it might be, and they'd have super cards down there all the time. So I was in love with the business, throughout, probably 5th grade all the way up to my adult life when I got in the business. And Dusty Rhodes was probably one of the main reasons I got into the business, because I was so entertained by him. And
there he is. I'm looking at Dusty on the screen right now. John, how on earth did you get yourself into the wrestling ring? Dusty's approaching the ring. We got the legendary Gary Michael Capetta on the announcing here. How did you get in the ring with Dusty Rhodes? How'd that happen?
Like I've done, I kind of bullshitted my way in the ring, really. I wanted to give it a shot. I've been covering wrestling. I ran for Blassie's Fan Club. I was a photographer, a writer. I ran a little talk show in Boston on College Station, and I said, I wonder what it would be like to get in the ring. So I was able to navigate that and tell everybody I knew what I was doing when I did not know what I was doing because I had no training. But I did it, and now I could look back at it and laugh.
And you didn't get injured?
I got injured because Dusty got very stiff with me with the elbows, because I didn't know what I was doing. And when I got him in the corner, I started hitting him on top of the head, which is kind of a no-no, and stiffed him with a little bit of a knee. And then he whispered to me as he held me by my hair, and he basically said, I got to teach you a lesson. And the bionic elbows on top of my head they riveted me. They just sent this, I didn't know where I was.
Unbelievable. Now, we're watching this right now, and I'm not much of a play-by-play guy, but it looks like you're double-teaming the American Dream.
Yeah, now I get him in the corner, if you look at that. And then when I run after him to attack him, that's when he grabs me by the hair, and he shakes his finger, and that's it.
Here we go. It's the bionic elbow.
Put some hard times on John Arezzi's head.
But it was, I could say I wrestled.
You could say you wrestled the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
You could say you were. I never worked Dusty, so you got.
The two of you just met minds. There we go. You take aspirin after that shot? Oy.
Well, I didn't even know how to go into a ring rope. I didn't know how to do a body slam. I didn't know how to do anything.
How did they let you in the ring?
They didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, GJ just said, "Screw it, go for it."
Well, because I was introduced by Ernie Roth, and it was just kind of like, and they knew me when I showed up. Though they were like, "That's the photographer."
Unbelievable. All right, guys, let's move on to the Tag America event. If I can get to the right page, because Pharaoh never knows where the hell he is. We got the tag event going on this weekend. Would you like to introduce yourself to the audience at home, my fine friend?
Absolutely. I'm Bob Hendrick, and I am a tag team partner with my wife, Nancy, and we have this great fundraiser for Tunnels to Towers coming up on Sunday from 12 to 4 at 14 East Broadway, Port Jefferson. We have Sonny who's going to be there, we have John, and we have Mr. USA Tony Atlas. He'll be signing these particular prints, which is from that painting right there, which someone can win, because we have some great raffle prizes going on. So this should be a really great event for everybody, all the wrestling fans out there.
And who's behind the drawing?
Who's behind it? Tony Atlas, Hulk Hogan, and we painted that, and Tony's going to sign it, and that's going to be raffled off.
Alrighty, folks.
Well, I'm going to buy some raffles. I know the raffles are what, $10 each?
The raffles are only $10 each.
I can't believe they're that cheap. You should raise them up to $20.
You know what? You're absolutely right, because that painting is valued at $3,500.
Wow.
So someone's going to be very happy, come Sunday.
Well, I'm going to buy $100 worth of raffles myself because I like that painting. That would look nice in my gym.
The press heard round the world, I like to call it.
Oh yeah, that's from Shea Stadium, 1980. Hey, Monty, you out there? You got anything else to add to this fine festival over here?
I'm going to sit between the two boys.
He's going to sit between the two boys. All right, don't get all Mel Phillips on them.
In Port Jefferson, right? So what could people look forward to when they come to the event, to your facility, and what else is going on?
Well, we have, it's going to be country line dancing there, too.
Yeehaw!
Okay, and 96.1 My Country will be there.
WJVC.
Doing a live remote from 12 to 2 p.m. So it's going to be a lot of excitement. And Tag America basically is like an all made in America store.
Nice.
Our emphasis is on God country and, the best country in the world.
God bless
the United
America.
States of America.
There you go.
And artisans across the country.
Every raffle that people are going to put that money, is 100% of that going to Tunnels?
100% Tunnels to Towers.
So I think the fans, even that aren't in the state of New York, need to know what Tunnels for Tower is and what they do for people.
The Tunnels to Towers was actually set up after 9/11 when one particular fighter, Stephen Siller, was running through the tunnels to get to the towers. He made it there. Unfortunately, did not make it out, during the attack on 9/11. And this foundation was set up to help military, police, firefighters, everybody that suffered, some sort of casualty, back in 9/11 and currently to this day. Just as that policeman a couple weeks ago, they paid off his house, the mortgage for that.
It's from East Northport.
That gentleman, and it's 93% of the funds that is collected by this organization actually go to the families. It's one of the highest rated organizations, one of the greatest fundraisers that there is out there. That's why we support it.
And I think in the last local news, right, the police officer that was unfortunately run down by a drunken driver, and she took his life, Tunnels for Towers paid the mortgage for that family so they don't have to struggle during these difficult times.
That is correct. I believe he had two young children, and it's such a tragedy, but Tunnels to Towers Foundation steps up and helps families like that.
So I want the fans out there to realize, again, that at this event, Mr. USA Tony Atlas will be there. He'll be taking pictures, doing autographs. UWF superstar Sonny Beach will be there, taking pictures, signing autographs. The OG of professional wrestling, the man that lit the fire, also a music genius. And one thing we didn't cover, he was an executive for the New York Mets.
Hello.
Right?
Big pork barbecue.
And
would you stop with the big pork barbecue? This poor guy.
This guy is an icon in the business. He will be there signing, which I got to tell you, for wrestling fans, Matt Memories is a read you don't want to miss. If you're old,
thank you,
new school, I'm telling you, Farrell and I discussed this book.
It's like this painting. It rules.
It is like this
rules.
painting. It is an incredible book, and like I said, this guy's life, we'd all be lucky to have this dude's life. This is for sure. So I want to end the show with what we call the Pharaoh's final question. The Pharaoh looks in his mind, and he's going to ask you his final question, John.
Oh, yeah?
All right, John, here we go. Yankees and Mets.
Just kidding.
Yankees. I'm just kidding.
That's
If there
funny.
was anything you could change over the course of your very, very diverse and interesting paths you took in your life, what would you change? Anything?
I think if there was one major thing I'd change in my life would be in 1981 when I walked into a bar while I was working for the New York Mets in the minor leagues.
Okay.
And a band took the stage, and the female lead singer in the cover band was Patty Loveless, who I then wound up quitting my job with the Mets and then taking my whole career trajectory because I wanted to work for the Mets, and I went into the music business.
Right.
If I didn't go into that club that night, I'd still probably be with the Mets in some capacity. I mean, I wanted to call my book "I Should Have Stayed in Baseball" because that has been the true passion of my life, even more than wrestling in a lot of ways. I love the Mets. I love baseball, and that changed my entire career direction.
It's always a woman.
Did the Genie promise Dominic a World Series title? Because Genie, be careful.
Did I promise Dominic a World Series title?
Because I know he says you're the Genie, so I mean, has he asked for
There's
another...
no Genie that's ever going to put enough magic dust on the Mets to make them a dynasty.
I had to check.
The Mets find a way to break your heart in a different way every year, and this is no exception this year.
Yeah, I'm a Jet fan. Tell me about it.
The Jets, too.
So again, where can out-of-towners get the tag event raffle tickets for the picture?
Okay, they can call 631-741-2344, 631-741-2344. Contact you guys. We can work it out there. We want to make it as simple as possible, and just let everybody know this particular painting, whoever wins it, it doesn't matter where you are. You can be in Big Sky, Montana. We will personally ship this to you at our cost to make sure that you will get this unbelievable painting of the press heard around the world.
John, where can people get your books besides Sunday at the tag event?
They can get it at Amazon, or if you want a signed numbered copy, just go to mattmemories.com, and there'll be a link there where you could buy the book, and I'd sign it for you personally and number it.
And you'll be at Wrestling Universe along with Tito Santana.
I will be at the Wrestling Universe Saturday from 3 to 6 with Tito Santana.
And Sonny, where can people see you?
This Sunday, I'm going to be at the big tag event out in Port Jefferson. Me and Tony Atlas signing autographs with John Arezzi and telling stories, kissing some babies, shaking some hands, and hopefully we sell a ton of raffles for this awesome Tunnels and Towers, foundation and charity, and they do a lot of good things, and I'm so proud to, be associated with this event this weekend. So wrestling fans, come out, have a great day, meet some people, shake some hands, and do a good thing for charity, good thing for Long Island charity.
And
New York
Monty
charities.
and Farrell want to say we're proud to have a sponsor like Tag America. We are honored to always have the great pro wrestler, great human being, Sonny Beach in-house. And John Arezzi, thank you for giving us the honor to be able to interview you and giving us the respect to have you on this show. And I know I could speak for the Pharaoh in this case. You have lived a great life, and it's well-deserved, and you're a good human being. And
thank you.
We really appreciate you taking the time.
And thank you for asking me to be here.
Thanks for coming down, John. I love your book, and your story is very inspirational to the Pharaoh. So,
thank you.
You've been watching Monty and the Pharaoh, and until next time, later.